Thompson's going to go out and
He doesn't know shit.
Will you step at the pool camp, Congressman? For a moment, do you mind just stopping? I want to hear what you think about what we just heard Mark Meadows asking for a pardon, leading your team correctly. Is the committee going to invite him to do that?
Well, it's extraordinary to hear in such vivid detail that the Chief of Staff and the White House were aware that there were armed people in that crowd on January the 6th. And the president's response to that, according to the witness, was searing when he just said, let them all in, take down the mags, take down the machines, let them all in. There were people with AR-15s, there were people with guns and knives, let them all in because they're no threat to him. So it didn't trouble him that there were armed people ready for violence in the crowd, in the mob that day. And that confirms that this was a president who was willing to do anything to overthrow the presidential election of 2020 and clearly had violence within his sights on that day.
Mr. Raskin, we heard a lot of new information today. What do you consider the most significant piece of testimony from Cassidy Hutchinson today?
Well, I found that to be quite astounding and eye-opening. We had the President of the United States upset that the Secret Service and other authorities were using metal detectors for people entering his rally, and he wanted those taken down so everyone could enter, including people who were armed. And there were official reports of people carrying AR-15s on that day. So to me, that's something that the American public needs to think about. This crowd was obviously armed and dangerous, and they were hell-bent on entering the Capitol. And this witness simply blew away any pretense that the president and all the president's men didn't know what was actually going on in that crowd. They did.
Mr. Raskin, the committee took somewhat of a gamble today. This was a last-minute hearing. Cassidy Hutchinson was a relatively lower-ranking official. Do you think this paid off?
Well, first of all, Cassidy Hutchinson's office was between that of the President of the United States and the White House Chief of Staff. She was the advisor to the White House Chief of Staff, and she's a young woman of extraordinary poise and understanding and insight. And today we learned she was a young woman of extraordinary patriotism, too, because she demonstrated a lot of courage when there are still some people out there who've not summoned up the kind of courage she's had to tell the truth.
It was said that there was four testimonies that she gave to you guys behind closed doors. Was this last one in the last 10 days, which is why you guys called this surprise hearing?
She spoke to the committee several times, and her testimony today included aspects of all of the prior conversations.
Will this
What is your-
incentivize?
Does the committee have any more evidence of witness tampering?
Well, the evidence of witness tampering that the committee has released are the two episodes that the vice chair cited today anonymously for obvious reasons. It's a crime to tamper with witnesses. It's a form of obstructing justice. The committee won't tolerate it, and we haven't had the chance to fully investigate it or fully discuss it, but it's something on our agenda.
Mr. Raskin, sorry, Hutchinson sat for 3
interviews.
interviews.
Has Ms. Hutchinson given you any testimony that would be considered to be classified that hasn't been revealed yet in any of your public hearings?
Or no comment.
Mrs. Hutchinson.
Republican Senator Ron Johnson has since responded since his mention at the last hearing. He said that you guys presented not all of the information in the text and said that you're misclassifying or using it in the wrong sense. Are you guys interested in reaching out, getting more information out of it?
We welcome the involvement of anybody who's got relevant evidence. We want all the material witnesses to come forward, and I don't think there is a single piece of evidence that we've offered that has been materially contradicted in any way. But obviously, if there's a mistake, then the committee is interested in correcting mistakes. Our whole committee exists in order to correct the lies about the 2020 presidential election. We're nullifying the big lie, and we are telling American people the truth about what happened on January 6th.
What actions do you expect, or what actions do you feel the Justice Department needs to take amid all these revelations? These are some pretty searing revelations about witness tampering, about the president trying to come to Congress when he can only be requested by the Speaker of the House. What actions can the Justice Department take at this point?
Well, I mean, that's a question better posed, obviously, to the Department of Justice. You know, I'm a separation of powers guy. I know that our mandate comes from the House Resolution 503, which is to assemble all of the facts about what happened on January 6th, the causes behind them, and then what needs to be done to fortify American democracy against coups, insurrections, and political violence going forward. So, you know, every hearing has involved testimony where there is a lot of evidence of potential crimes, and we know the Department of Justice is expert in that, and it's really their jurisdiction. So the questions need to be posed there, and I know there's a great hunger in the public for individual criminal accountability, and we share that, obviously, like all Americans, but that's not our jurisdiction. Someone else will have to decide whether there were crimes that actually took place and whether or not to
Congressman Raskin.
On separation of powers. You just said separation of powers. How important is Ginny Thomas to this? We're seeing that the court erode a lot of rights that Americans thought they had when it comes to it, and we've seen where she goes.
Yes. Well, look, Congress is in Article 1 for a reason. We're the lawmaking branch of government, and we have a responsibility to try to make government work. And so we will be releasing at the end of this whole process a bunch of recommendations about how to safeguard the integrity of our government and the separation of powers, and how to make sure that elections don't come under attack in this way.
Congressman, sorry.
Over witness tampering, are you going to have to do more surprise hearings like this one to kind of avoid those situations?
Well,
is that something we should expect?
I mean, you see, we've been keeping you guys on your toes. We are calling hearings as we see fit, and obviously there was a lot of important information in this one.
Congressman, sorry, you guys sat behind.
The Beast incident with the Secret Service, Tony Ornato, the other Secret Service agent, has that been verified? Because as you know, Cassidy Hutchinson gave it to the committee as secondhand information that she was.
Right now, speaking as one member of the committee, the evidence I've seen is the evidence that you have seen.
Congressman, sorry, Ms.
Was Tony Ornato involved, and did he participate in a private interview or deposition with the committee?
No comment on that.
Hutchinson sat for 3 interviews with the committee before this 4th one, which seems to have been heavily featured in this hearing. How is it that some of these explosive revelations, which are easily the largest revelations that have come out of these hearings, let alone her testimony, how is it that it took 4 interviews to get some of these major revelations out of her?
Well, but without conceding the premise of your question, I think it's best to ask her.
Can you talk about how this new evidence has changed your hearing schedule at all? I mean, obviously this was a surprise hearing, but have you received more evidence that would add to the schedule too that are happening in July?
We're still in the process of reorganizing according to the evidence that surfaced today.
Is there any threats or any threats of violence as part of the witness tampering?
No comment on that.
What prompted you to schedule all this now at the last minute?
Just what the chair and the vice chair stated. This is important information that we wanted to get right to the American people and Congress.
Were there witness tampering efforts?
I suppose that's in the eye of the beholder. I mean, speaking as one member of the committee, I hope that people understand the fundamental importance of civic courage in defending our democratic institutions. There are a number of heroes who have come forward, like Shea Moss, the Arizona Speaker of the House, and like Ms. Hutchinson today. And then there are some people who have been willing to play along with essentially an authoritarian attack on constitutional democracy. And I think constitutional democracy is under attack all over the world today. And these hearings are an opportunity for us to reassert what America means and what our government is all about. Because if democracy fails in America, one despairs of what it means for countries around the world struggling for human rights and democracy.
Will this incentivize other members? Do you think that Ms. Hutchinson's testimony will incentivize other members of the Trump administration who have not wanted to testify to testify?
Well, I certainly hope the example of Ms. Hutchinson's civic courage and honesty will inspire others who have been reluctant. We hope that nobody would give in to any kind of intimidation or witness tampering. We hope that everyone will step forward and give the committee all of the relevant evidence that they have within their possession. All right.
Thank you, Congressman.
Thanks, sir.
So this was a pretty. We actually get you to stand at the microphone. This was